Welcome, curious minds. Today we're embarking on a deep dive into, well, one of the most raw, fascinating, and sometimes frankly disturbing books in ancient literature, the Book of Judges.
Absolutely.
Our mission is to go beyond just, summarizing. We want to unpack this historical account, look at the key figures, and really pull out those recurring patterns, those dramatic events that shaped early Israel.
Right. We want to give you those crucial nuggets of knowledge.
Exactly. The stuff that really matters.
And the source material we're drawing from today, excerpts from Judges chapters 1 right through to 21, it gives this incredibly unflinching look at a truly tumultuous period.
Unflinching is a good word for it.
It really is. It's almost a masterclass in understanding leadership, conflict, and, the huge societal impact when central authority just isn't there. We're not just looking at what happened, but really why it mattered and what insights it might offer us even today.
Okay, so let's dig in. Our journey through Judges kicks off, interestingly, right after Joshua's death. Israel faces this big question: who will be the first to go up and fight for us against the Canaanites?
A critical moment.
And the answer comes back: Judah. So they lead the charge, and straight away we see some pretty significant early wins.
They get off to a strong start.
Yeah, Judah's initial attack results in a major rout at Besek. And it's there they capture this king, Adoni-Besek, who had done some pretty gruesome things himself, apparently.
Oh, definitely. The text makes that clear.
So they capture him, cut off his thumbs and big toes, and then he makes this really remarkable, almost chilling statement. He says, 70 kings with their thumbs and big toes cut off have picked up scraps under my table. Now God has paid me back for what I did to them.
Wow. That admission, it's not just brutal detail, is it? It's a stark reminder of that whole might makes right mentality back then.
Yeah.
And the sudden ironic reversal of fortune for someone who lived by violence. A grim lesson in cosmic justice, you could say, even from a tyrant's mouth.
Absolutely. And this early success for Judah continues, right? They take Jerusalem, keep fighting in the hill country, the Negev, defeating groups in Hebron. It seems like real momentum.
It does. And we also get that brief but telling detail about Caleb. He offers his daughter Aksa to Othniel for capturing Kiriath Sefer.
Right, and Aksa then asks for more than just land.
Exactly. She specifically asks for vital springs of water, and Caleb gives her both upper and lower springs. It's tucked away in there, but it really highlights the value of resources, especially water, and maybe even hints at the agency women could sometimes exercise.
Good point. And Judah, working with Simeon, keeps pushing, even totally destroying a city they rename Hormah and capturing key Philistine cities like Gaza and Ashkelon.
A really aggressive campaign initially.
It's a powerful start, no doubt, full of decisive action. But then, as you hinted, the narrative takes a surprising turn. It almost immediately contrasts these big victories.
Precisely. While Judah initially takes the hill country, the text explicitly says they were unable to drive the people from the plains because they had iron chariots.
Ah, the iron chariots, technology gap.
Exactly. And this raises an immediate critical question for the whole book. What are the consequences of incomplete obedience, of compromise?
Because it wasn't just Judah having trouble.
Not at all. We see this pattern repeated across various tribes. The Benjamites failed to get the Jebusites out of Jerusalem, and the text adds that telling phrase, to this day the Jebusites live there.
Right.
Manasseh doesn't drive out key inhabitants, neither does Ephraim from Gezer or Zebulun from Kitron. Asher ends up living among the Canaanites in their territory, Naphtali too. Even the Amorites managed to confine the tribe of Dan to the hill country.
So a lot of unfinished
A
business.
huge amount. And this leads to that crucial moment.
Yeah.
The angel of the Lord's rebuke at Bokim, a name that means weepers. And the message is stark. I will not drive them out before you. They will be thorns in your sides, and their gods will be a snare to you. That statement right there, it sets the stage for the entire cyclical narrative of Judges. It's basically a prophecy of recurring trouble.
And that prophecy, it plays out with devastating clarity, doesn't it? How did these early choices, this sort of partial success, start shaping the generations that followed?
The book makes it painfully clear. There's this profound generational shift mentioned. It says, after that whole generation had been gathered to their fathers, another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for Israel.
Wow. They forgot.
They forgot, or perhaps were never properly taught. And this leads directly into that core tragic cycle of the book. You see it over and over. Israel does evil, often by serving Baals and Ashtoreths. These were prominent Canaanite gods, fertility deities whose worship involved practices totally against Israel's covenant. So the Lord, in anger, allows them to be oppressed by enemies. They eventually cry out for help. The Lord then raises up a judge, a deliverer, who saves them. And there's peace, but only as long as that judge lives.
And then
the cycle repeats. When the judge dies, the people return to ways even more corrupt than before, following other gods, refusing to give up their evil practices.
it's relentless.
It is. And it's even noted that the Lord decided to use these remaining nations to test Israel's obedience and also, interestingly, to teach warfare to the generations who hadn't experienced the initial conquest.
So it's this repeating pattern: rebellion, punishment, crying out, temporary relief, and then back again.
Exactly. A profound commentary, as you said earlier, maybe even on the human condition itself.
And it starts almost immediately in the narrative, with actually a familiar name popping up as the first judge.
It does. The first judge mentioned is Othniel. Remember him, Caleb's younger brother, the one who married Aksa.
Ah, yes, the one who captured Kiriath Sefer.
That's him. He delivers Israel from Cushan-Rishathaim, a king from Aram-Naharaim, over to Mesopotamia, and brings a significant 40 years of peace. It's a relatively straightforward deliverance story.
But following the pattern, that peace doesn't last.
Nope. The cycle repeats, and this time we get a truly memorable figure. Ehud.
Ah, Ehud, the left-handed Benjamite.
That's right. And being left-handed is actually a key detail. His story is one of sheer cunning. He's sent to deliver tribute to Eglon, the king of Moab, who's described rather bluntly as a very fat man.
Yes, I remember that.
Ehud makes this custom double-edged sword about 1.5 feet long, straps it to his right thigh where guards wouldn't expect it from a presumably right-handed person. He has a private audience with Eglon.
And then
He says he has a secret message from God. When Eglon stands up, Ehud grabs the sword and plunges it into the king's belly. So deeply, the text graphically notes that the fat closed over the blade and handle.
Oof.
It's extremely. But the graphic detail emphasizes the sudden, decisive, almost hidden nature of the blow. It allows Ehud to lock the doors and escape, while the servants just stand around, eventually concluding hilariously, he must be relieving himself.
Right, they wait too long.
Exactly. Ehud escapes, rallies the Israelites at Mount Ephraim, seizes the fords of the Jordan, and leads them to a decisive victory over Moab, killing about 10,000 Moabite soldiers. And this brings 80 years of peace.
80 years. That's a huge impact from one very targeted assassination.
It's a remarkably long period, yeah. Demonstrates a profound impact leadership, even unconventional leadership like Ehud's could have.
Talk about an unexpected hero. Ehud's story is definitely a masterclass in cunning, but it also paints this vivid, maybe slightly gory picture of what deliverance looked like sometimes.
Desperate times, desperate measures.
For sure. The narrative then shifts and brings us to a truly exceptional figure, someone who really stands out, even among these remarkable leaders.
Absolutely, Deborah.
Yes, a prophetess and a judge.
And she's holding court, settling disputes, under the palm of Deborah. What's so unique is that she's a woman leading, commanding respect and authority in a very male-dominated society. It speaks volumes about her wisdom and perceived divine backing.
She calls Barak to lead the army.
Right, she does. She summons Barak and tells him the Lord commands him to take 10,000 men from Naphtali and Zebulun, Mount Tabor, to fight Sisera, the commander of the Canaanite army, who has 900 iron chariots. A formidable force.
But Barak hesitates.
He does, big time. He says, if you go with me, I will go. But if you don't go with me, I won't go. It's quite a statement of dependence, or maybe fear.
And Deborah's response?
Deborah's direct. She says, very well, I will go with you, but because of the way you are going about this, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman.
A powerful prophecy.
And it comes true. At the Kishon River, the Lord throws Sisera's chariots and army into confusion before Barak. Sisera abandons his chariot and flees on foot.
And he ends up at Jael's tent.
Yes, the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. The Kenites were generally neutral or even friendly with Israel, but also had some ties to the Canaanites, so Sisera probably thought it was safe. Jael welcomes him in, gives him milk when he asks for water, covers him with a rug.
Lulling him into a false sense of security.
Completely. And while he's asleep, exhausted, she takes a tent peg and a hammer, goes quietly to him, and drives the peg right through his temple, pinning his head to the ground.
Wow. Just wow. Brutal and incredibly decisive.
It really is. And when Barak arrives in pursuit, Jael shows him Sisera dead. Deborah's prophecy fulfilled.
And then chapter 5 gives us the Song of Deborah and Barak, which offers this incredible, almost cinematic perspective on the whole thing.
It truly does. It's one of the oldest pieces of Hebrew poetry. It paints this vivid picture of the chaos before Deborah arose, saying things like, "The roads were abandoned, travelers took to winding paths, village life in Israel ceased."
It shows how bad things were.
Exactly. The song even speaks of celestial intervention. From the heavens the stars fought, from their courses they fought against Sisera. The Kishon River swept them away. It's epic stuff.
And it doesn't shy away from judgment either.
No, it pronounces a curse on Meroz, a town or region that didn't come to help the Lord against the mighty. This stands in sharp contrast to the powerful blessing heaped upon Jael. Most blessed of women be Jael, most blessed of tent-dwelling women.
She gets the highest praise.
Absolutely. And then there's that poignant, almost haunting final stanza about Sisera's mother looking out a window, waiting.
Oh, right. Wondering why his chariot is so late.
Yes, and her ladies trying to reassure her, imagining the spoils he must be dividing. Are they not finding and dividing the spoils, a girl or two for each man? Colorful garments as plundered for Sisera, colorful garments embroidered, highly embroidered, for the neck of the plunderer.
That adds such a layer of raw human tragedy to it, a chilling glimpse into the expectations and the cost of war on all sides.
It really does. It adds incredible depth.
And we also can't forget that brief but really impactful mention of Shamgar, son of Anath.
Ah, yes, Shamgar. Just a quick verse about him.
Who struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad. Just an ox goad.
Incredible, right? Another unexpected hero, showing that deliverance could come from the most unlikely people using the most unconventional weapons. It reinforces that idea that it wasn't about human strength alone.
Absolutely. Okay, so after the peace Deborah and Barak brought, Israel, inevitably it seems, finds itself back in familiar territory.
The cycle turns again.
Yes. And this time, Israel faces severe oppression from the Midianites. They're described as invading like swarms of locusts, just devastating the land, ruining crops, leaving nothing for Israel to live on. They force the Israelites to hide in mountain clefts and caves.
Utterly demoralizing and destructive.
And this situation brings us to one of the most well-known figures in Judges.
Gideon.
Gideon, yes, as a central character.
He's called by the angel of the Lord while he's threshing wheat down in a wine press, trying to hide it from the Midianites. Right, which already tells you something about the fear and the situation they were in.
Exactly. And the angel's greeting is almost ironic, isn't it? The Lord is with you, mighty warrior.
Given Gideon's initial reaction, definitely. He's full of doubt, questioning God, asking, if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? He demands signs.
Like the test with the fleece, right? Or the offering first.
First, the offering on the rock, which is consumed by fire when the angel touches it. That convinces him initially. Later comes the fleece test, twice. But his first act of defiance after the angel's call is quite bold, even if done secretly.
What does he do?
He tears down his father Joash's altar to Baal and cuts down the Asherah pole beside it, doing it at night with 10 servants because he was afraid of his family and the townspeople.
Ah, okay. So still some fear, but he does it.
He does. And the next morning, the townspeople are furious, demanding Gideon be put to death. But his father defends him, saying, if Baal really is a god, he can defend himself. And Gideon gets the nickname Jerubbaal, which means, let Baal contend with him.
So a reluctant start, but he steps up.
He does. And Gideon's story, as you know, is full of these extraordinary moments, especially concerning his army.
The shrinking army, yes, that's famous.
It's incredible. He gathers this huge force initially, 32,000 men. But the Lord says, that's too many.
Too many. Why?
So Israel can't boast, my own strength has saved me. So Gideon tells anyone who is trembling with fear to leave. 22,000 go home.
Wow, the majority were afraid.
Apparently so. That leaves 10,000, still too many, according to the Lord. So Gideon takes them down to the water for another test.
The drinking test.
Right, how they drank water. Most knelt down to drink, putting their faces to the water. But 300 men scooped water into their hands and lapped it like dogs, staying alert.
And those were the chosen ones.
Those are the 300. The Lord says, with the 300 men that lapped, I will save you and give the Midianites into your hands. It's this radical reduction to emphasize divine power over human numbers.
An incredible lesson in reliance on God, not strength.
Absolutely. And Gideon himself gets a boost of confidence just before the battle. He overhears a Midianite telling a friend about a dream, a round loaf of barley bread, tumbling into the Midianite camp and striking a tent so hard it collapsed.
And the friend interprets it.
Yes, saying, "This can be nothing other than the sword of Gideon. God has given the Midianites and the whole camp into his hands." Gideon hears this, worships God, and knows victory is assured.
So how did the attack work with just 300 men against a massive Midianite army?
It was all about surprise, confusion, and psychological warfare. He divided the 300 men into 3 companies. Each man got a trumpet, an empty clay jar, and a torch to put inside the jar.
Trumpets, jars, and torches. Unusual weapons.
Very. They surround the Midianite camp in the middle of the night. On Gideon's signal, they all blow their trumpets, smash the jars, revealing the torches, and shout, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon!"
Imagine the chaos. Sudden noise and light everywhere.
Exactly. The Midianites wake up in panic, thinking they're surrounded by a huge army. In the confusion, the Lord causes them to turn on each other, attacking their own comrades. They flee in disarray.
A decisive victory through strategy and, well, divine intervention.
Completely. Gideon then calls on the Ephraimites to cut off the Midianite retreat at the Jordan, and they capture and execute 2 Midianite leaders, Oreb and Zeb.
But as we often see in Judges, the story doesn't just end with a simple victory celebration. Gideon faces internal conflict, doesn't he? And makes some questionable choices himself.
That's a crucial point. Even the deliverers are flawed. The Ephraimites, for instance, get angry with Gideon, complaining, "Why didn't you call us when you went to fight Midian?" They were quite harsh with him.
How did Gideon handle that?
Very diplomatically, actually. He downplays his own victory and praises them, asking, "What was I able to do compared to you? Isn't the gleaning of Ephraim's grapes better than the full grape harvest of Abiezer?" Basically, saying their capture of Oreb and Zeb was more important than his initial battle. It appeased their anger.
Smart move. But he wasn't always so diplomatic later, was he?
No. His relentless pursuit of the 2 remaining Midianite kings, Zebah and Zalmunna, shows a harsher side. He asks the towns of Sukkos and Peniel for food for his exhausted troops, but they refuse, mocking him.
And Gideon doesn't forget that.
He certainly doesn't. He vows revenge, and after capturing the kings, he returns. He punishes the elders of Sukkos by teaching them a lesson with desert thorns and briars, and he tears down the tower of Peniel and kills the men of the town. It's quite brutal.
And his pursuit of the kings was also personal.
Very personal. He asks Zebah and Zalmunna about the men they killed at Tabor. They admit they killed men who resembled Gideon, saying each one looked like a king's son. Gideon reveals, "Those were my brothers, the sons of my own mother." He then has his young son try to kill them, but the boy hesitates, so Gideon kills them himself, taking the crescent ornaments from their camels' necks.
So a mix of righteous deliverance and personal vengeance.
Exactly. And then, after this monumental victory, the Israelites ask Gideon to rule over them, him, his son, and his grandson, a hereditary kingship.
What does Gideon say?
He gives the right answer initially. "I will not rule over you, nor will my son rule over you. The Lord will rule over you."
That sounds good.
But then he makes this problematic request. He asks for the gold earrings taken as spoil from the Ishmaelites, Midianites. He collects a huge amount, 1,700 shekels of gold.
And what does he do with it?
He makes it into an ephod. Now, an ephod was sometimes a priestly garment, but here it seems to be more like a golden cultic object, maybe an idol or something used for divination. He places it in his hometown, Ophrah.
And that becomes a problem.
A huge problem. The text says, all Israel prostituted themselves by worshiping it there and became a snare to Gideon and his family, a tragic endnote to his leadership. Even someone who refused kingship could lead people into idolatry through a misguided religious object.
So even in success, there's this seed of future failure.
Precisely. Despite this, the land did have peace for 40 years during Gideon's lifetime. He lived to an old age, had 70 sons from many wives, and also a concubine in Shechem, who bore him a son named Abimelech.
Ah, Abimelech. That name signals trouble, doesn't it? After Gideon's death, the cycle repeats, but this time it's Gideon's own son who takes this incredibly dark path.
Abimelech's story is really a chilling descent into brutal ambition, a stark contrast to his father's initial refusal to rule.
How does he make his move?
He goes to his mother's relatives in Shechem and basically says, look, is it better for you to have 70 men ruling over you, all of Gideon's sons, or just one? Remember, I'm your own flesh and blood.
Playing the family card.
Exactly. The leaders of Shechem are persuaded. They give him 70 shekels of silver from the temple of Baal-berith. Note the Baal worship again.
And what does he do with the money?
He uses it to hire reckless adventurers, basically thugs. He takes it to his father's home in Ophrah and murders his 70 half-brothers, all on one stone.
70 brothers.
Yeah.
Horrific.
Just utterly ruthless. Only the youngest, Jotham, escapes by hiding. After this massacre, the citizens of Shechem make Abimelech their king.
A kingship born from fratricide and funded by idolatry. It's about as bad a start as you can get.
It really is. And Jotham, the surviving brother, delivers this powerful condemnation.
The fable, right, Jotham's fable.
Yes, he stands on Mount Gerizim and shouts out this story to the people of Shechem. About the trees wanting a king, they ask the olive tree, the fig tree, the vine, all productive, valuable plants.
And they all refuse.
They all refuse, saying basically, should I give up my oil-sweetness wine that honors gods and humans just to hold sway over trees? They value their function over status.
So who do they ask, finally?
The worthless thorn bush. And the thorn bush agrees, but conditionally. If you really want to anoint me king over you, come and take refuge in my shade. Which is ridiculous. A thorn bush offers no real shade. But if not, then let fire come out of the thorn bush and consume the cedars of Lebanon.
A threat from the least valuable.
Exactly. Jotham then applies it directly. If you've acted honorably towards Gideon's family by making Abimelech king after he murdered his brothers, then rejoice in him. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech and consume you. And let fire come out from the citizens of Shechem and consume Abimelech. He pronounces this mutual curse.
And does it come true?
It does. After 3 years, God stirs up animosity between Abimelech and the citizens of Shechem. A man named Gaal, son of Ehud, rallies the Shechemites against Abimelech, openly challenging his authority.
So the alliance breaks down.
Completely. Abimelech fights back fiercely. He defeats Gaal, then attacks Shechem itself, captures it, kills the people inside, demolishes the city, and scatters salt over it, a symbol of utter destruction and sterility.
Brutal vengeance.
And it doesn't stop there. The leaders of Shechem flee to the stronghold of the temple of Elbereth. Abimelech and his men cut branches, pile them against the stronghold, and set them on fire, burning about 1,000 men and women alive inside.
Fulfilling Jotham's curse of fire.
Exactly. But Abimelech's own end is near. He goes on to attack the town of Thebes. As he approaches the town's strong tower where the people had fled, a woman on the roof drops an upper millstone directly onto his head, cracking his skull.
A millstone. Talk about unexpected.
Right, and Abimelech, dying, is horrified at the thought of being killed by a woman. His final command to his young armor-bearer is, "Draw your sword and kill me," so that they can't say a woman killed him. The armor-bearer obeys.
Wow, even in death, obsessed with his image. It's almost a dark echo of GL and Sisera, isn't it?
The very dark echo, yes. The ignominy of being felled by a woman was clearly a major concern for men like him. His violent reign ends violently, fulfilling Jotham's curse entirely.
So after this really dark interlude of Abimelech's tyranny, the narrative briefly shifts back to mentioning some less dramatic leaders, the minor judges again.
Right. The text gives us Tola from Issachar, who judged Israel for 23 years. Then Jair from Gilead, who judged for 22 years. Jair is noted for having 30 sons who rode 30 donkeys and controlled 30 towns in Gilead, known as Havoth-Jair.
30 sons, 30 donkeys, 30 towns. Quite specific.
It suggests a period of perhaps relative stability or prosperity, maybe focused more on administration than warfare, but true to form.
The cycle continues.
The cycle continues. The Israelites again do evil, worshiping various gods of the surrounding nations. And this time, they face oppression from both the Philistines and the Ammonites for 18 long years, particularly affecting the tribes east of the Jordan in Gilead.
18 years is a long time to suffer.
It is, and when they finally cry out to Lord, his response is initially quite harsh. He reminds them of all the times he saved them before, from Egyptians, Amorites, Ammonites, Philistines, Sidonians, Amalekites, Manites.
Basically saying, I keep saving you and you keep turning away.
Exactly. He tells them, you have forsaken me and served other gods, so I will no longer save you. Go and cry out to the gods you've chosen. Let them save you when you are in trouble.
That's a tough response.
It is, but it seemed to provoke genuine repentance this time. The Israelites say, we have sinned, do with us whatever you think best, but please rescue us now. And crucially, they got rid of the foreign gods among them and served the Lord.
So, actions backing up their words.
Yes. And the text says the Lord could bear Israel's misery no longer. His compassion returns, setting the stage for the next deliverer.
And this oppression by the Ammonites specifically brings us to another really complex and ultimately tragic figure, Jephthah.
Jephthah, yes. His story is fraught with difficulty right from the start.
What's his background?
He's described as a mighty warrior, but his social standing is complicated. He's the son of Gilead, but his mother was a prostitute.
Ah, so that causes problems.
Big problems. Gilead's wife also bore sons, and when they grew up, they drove Jephthah away, saying, "You are not going to get any inheritance in our family because you are the son of another woman." So he flees and lives as an outcast in the land of Tob.
An outcast who gathers other outcasts.
Exactly. The text says a group of adventurers gathered around him and followed him. He becomes a kind of outlaw leader, skilled in warfare outside the official tribal structure.
But then the elders need him.
Irony, isn't it? When the Ammonites make war against Israel, the elders of Gilead, the same people who likely drove him out or allowed him to go to Tob to get Jephthah, they ask him, "Come and be our commander so we can fight the Ammonites."
How does Jephthah respond? He must have been bitter.
He is. He replies, "Didn't you hate me and drive me from my father's house? Why do you come to me now when you're in trouble?"
Fair question.
But the elders promise him, "If you come with us and fight the Ammonites, you will be head over all of us who live in Gilead." They offer him leadership.
So he agrees.
He agrees, but he makes them swear an oath before the Lord at Mizpah. Then, interestingly, before resorting to battle, Jephthah tries diplomacy. He sends messengers to the Ammonite king asking why they are attacking.
What's the Ammonite claim?
The Ammonite king claims Israel seized their land when they came up from Egypt, territory from the Arnon River to the Jabbok and the Jordan. He demands it back peacefully.
And just refutes this.
He does, quite thoroughly. He recounts Israel's history, how they bypassed Edom, Moab, and Ammon, how they defeated Sihon, king of the Amorites who did attack them, and how the Lord gave Israel the Amorite land. He argues that Israel has possessed this land for 300 years and that the Ammonites never contested it before. He basically says, what your god Shemosh gives you, you possess. What the Lord our God gives us, we possess. He makes a strong historical and theological case.
Shows a surprising knowledge of history and law for an outcast warrior.
It does. But the Ammonite king ignores the message, so battle becomes inevitable.
And this is where Jephthah makes his infamous vow.
Yes, this is the really dark and poignant turn. As the Spirit of the Lord comes upon him and he prepares for battle, Jephthah makes this vow. If you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering.
Whatever comes out, that's dangerously ambiguous.
Terribly ambiguous and potentially horrific, as it turns out. Jephthah wins a great victory over the Ammonites. But as he returns home to Mizpah,
his daughter comes out to meet him.
His only child. His daughter comes out dancing to the sound of tambourines to celebrate his victory.
Oh no, the tragedy is immediate.
It's heartbreaking. Jephthah sees her and tears his clothes, crying out, "Oh no, my daughter, you have brought me down and I'm devastated. I've made a vow to the Lord that I cannot break."
What's her reaction? It's quite remarkable.
It's astonishing. She understands the gravity of the vow. She tells him, "My father, you gave your word to the Lord. Do to me just as you promised, now that the Lord has avenged you of your enemies, the Ammonites." But she makes one request.
What does she ask?
"Give me 2 months to roam the hills and weep with my friends, because I will never marry." She mourns not her death, necessarily, but her unrealized future, her childlessness. Jephthah grants her request.
And after the 2 months?
After 2 months, she returns, and he did to her as he had vowed. The text is stark and doesn't explicitly detail the sacrifice, but the implication is clear and devastating. From this, the text notes, came an Israelite custom for young women to go away for 4 days each year to commemorate the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite.
Such a tragic story. The cost of a rash vow.
And a reminder of the extreme, sometimes terrible piety or perhaps misunderstanding of God's will in that era. Human sacrifice was explicitly forbidden in Israelite law, which makes the story even more disturbing and debated.
As if that wasn't enough tragedy and conflict, another bitter intertribal conflict erupts right after this Ammonite war. Shows how fragile the unity was.
Exactly. Internal divisions were just as destructive, if not more so, than external threats. This time it's the Ephraimites again.
What's their issue now? Same complaint as with Gideon.
Pretty much. They assemble their forces, cross over to Jephthah, and demand, "Why did you go to fight the Ammonites without calling us to go with you? We're going to burn down your house over your head."
Threatening the leader who just saved them? That's bold.
And foolish. Jephthah points out he did call them, but they didn't come. He says he risked his life to fight the Ammonites, and now they're attacking him for it. Diplomacy fails this time.
So battle breaks out between Gilead and Ephraim.
Yes. Jephthah gathers the men of Gilead and fights the Ephraimites. The Gileadites defeat them. And then comes the really infamous part.
The Shibboleth test.
The Shibboleth test. The Gileadites had captured the fords of the Jordan River to cut off the Ephraimites' escape route back home. Whenever a surviving Ephraimite tried to cross, the Gileadites would ask him, "Are you an Ephraimite?" If he said no.
They'd make him say Shibboleth.
Exactly. They'd say, all right, say Shibboleth. But the Ephraimites apparently couldn't pronounce the sh sound correctly. They'd say Sibboleth.
And that slight difference was a death sentence.
It was. If he couldn't pronounce it correctly, they killed him right there at the ford. The text states that 42,000 Ephraimites fell at that time.
42,000. Killed over a pronunciation difference in a civil conflict. Chilling.
It's a truly chilling example of how easily tribal identities and even linguistic markers could become tools for slaughter in that lawless period. The internal strife was incredibly bloody.
And following Jephthah, the text, again, briefly mentions a series of later sort of minor judges, right? Just before we get to the most famous one.
Yes, it rounds out this middle section. After Jephthah, we hear about Ibzan from Bethlehem, who judged Israel for 7 years. He's noted for having 30 sons and 30 daughters. He set his daughters away for marriage and brought in 30 daughters from elsewhere for his sons. Seems focused on alliances through marriage.
Interesting detail.
Then Elon the Zebulunite, who led for 10 years. After him, Abdon, son of Hillel, from Parathon in Ephraim, who judged for 8 years.
And Abdon also had a large family.
He did. 40 sons and 30 grandsons, who rode on 70 donkeys. Again, like Jair, this detail might suggest wealth, status, and perhaps a period of relative peace where such things were notable.
So these accounts, though brief, maybe serve as a kind of historical punctuation mark, showing the continuing cycle of leadership, even if less dramatically recorded sometimes.
Exactly. They bridge the gap, highlighting that leadership continued, perhaps focusing more on administration or local issues, before the next major crisis inevitably arose. And the next one is major.
It certainly is. The pattern reemerges, predictably perhaps, with Israel again doing evil, and this time they're delivered into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years.
40 years, a long period of oppression.
And this brings us to perhaps the most legendary and definitely the most complicated of all the judges.
Samson. Larger than life, flawed, tragic. His story's unique right from the beginning.
It starts with his parents, right? Manoah and his wife.
Yes. The angel of the Lord appears to Manoah's wife, who was barren, unable to have children. The angel tells her she will conceive and give birth to a son.
And gives specific instructions.
It's very specific. He's to be a Nazarite, dedicated to God from the womb. This means she must not drink wine or fermented drink or eat anything unclean during her pregnancy. And for the son himself, no razor may be used on his head because the boy is to be a Nazarite from the womb until the day of his death. He will begin the deliverance of Israel from the hands of the Philistines.
So set apart from birth for a divine purpose.
Exactly. His wife tells Manoah, who then prays for the angel to return and teach them how to raise the boy. The angel does reappear, reiterates the instructions to the wife, and then Manoah speaks with him.
And Manoah doesn't realize it's an angel at first.
Not immediately. He offers hospitality, wanting to prepare a young goat. The angel declines food but tells him to prepare a burnt offering to the Lord. As Manoah offers the sacrifice on a rock, something dramatic happens.
What's that?
As the flame flares up from the altar towards heaven, the angel of the Lord ascends in the flame.
Wow, that would leave an impression.
You think. Manoah and his wife fall face down, realizing they have seen God, or at least a divine messenger. Manoah's terrified, thinking they'll die, but his wife reassures him, and in due time, she gives birth to Samson.
So a miraculous birth, a divine calling, but Samson himself, he's a study in contradictions, isn't he?
Absolutely. Immense supernatural strength given by the Spirit of the Lord, but plagued by recurring personal weaknesses, impulsiveness, arrogance, lust, a thirst for vengeance that ultimately lead to his downfall. His exploits often seem driven more by personal vendettas than a clear strategy for delivering Israel.
Like his desire for a Philistine wife.
Exactly. He sees a young Philistine woman in Timnah and demands his parents get her for him, despite their objections. Isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives or all our people? But the text adds that intriguing note. This was from the Lord, who was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines, God using even Samson's questionable desires for his own purposes.
And on the way to Timnah, he has that encounter with the lion.
Right. A young lion comes roaring towards him. The Spirit of the Lord comes powerfully upon him, and he tears the lion apart with his bare hands, as he might have torn a young goat. But he doesn't tell his parents.
And later he finds honey in the carcass.
Yes. On his way back for the wedding feast, he turns aside to look at the lion's carcass and finds a swarm of bees and honey inside. He scoops some out and eats it. This leads to his famous riddle at the wedding feast.
Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet.
That's the one. He poses it to his 30 Philistine companions, betting 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes they can't solve it in 7 days.
But they cheat, right?
They do. They can't figure it out, so on the 7th day, they threaten Samson's new wife. Coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death.
So she wears him down.
She cries and nags him until he finally tells her the answer. She immediately tells her Philistine companions. Just before sunset on the 7th day, they give him the answer. What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?
And Samson knows he's been betrayed.
He knows instantly. He says, if you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle. Then the Spirit of the Lord comes upon him again. He goes down to Ashkelon, strikes down 30 Philistines, takes their clothes, and gives them to the men who had explained the riddle. Furious, he goes back to his parents' home.
And his wife.
His father-in-law gives her to Samson's companion, who had been his best man, which of course just fuels the next round of conflict.
Right. This sets off the incident with the foxes.
Exactly. When Samson goes back later to visit his wife, her father refuses to let him see her, offering her younger sister instead. Samson sees this as justification for revenge. He catches 300 foxes.
300?
Good question. The text doesn't say, but he does it. He ties them tail to tail in pairs, fastens a torch to each pair of tails, lights the torches, and lets the foxes run wild through the standing grain of the Philistines.
Causing massive damage.
Huge damage. Burning up the harvested shocks, the standing grain, the vineyards, the olive groves. Total agricultural devastation.
And the Philistine responds.
When they find out why Samson did it, because his father-in-law gave his wife away, they go and burn both the woman and her father to death.
Oh, wow. Escalation upon escalation.
Exactly. Which then prompts Samson to retaliate again. He says, since you've acted like this, I won't stop until I get my revenge on you. And the text says he attacked them viciously and slaughtered many of them, a cycle of vengeance.
And then he gets handed over by his own people.
Yes. The Philistines mass an army in Judah. The men of Judah, terrified, ask why. The Philistines say, we've come to tie Samson up. So 3,000 men of Judah go to Samson, who's hiding in a cave, and basically say, don't you realize the Philistines rule over us? We have to hand you over.
How does Samson react?
He agrees to be bound, but only if the men of Judah promise not to kill him themselves. They agree, tie him with 2 new ropes, and hand him over. As the Philistines are shouting in triumph, the Spirit of the Lord comes on him powerfully again.
And the ropes break.
They snap like charred flax. He sees a fresh jawbone of a donkey nearby, picks it up, and starts striking down the Philistines. He kills 1,000 men with it.
1,000 men with a donkey's jawbone. Incredible.
It's one of his most famous feats. Afterwards, he's incredibly thirsty and cries out to the Lord, who opens up a hollow place in the ground, and water comes out, reviving him. Each act of strength is often tied to a personal crisis or need for revenge.
What's truly striking about Samson, as you said, isn't just the strength, but this recurring pattern of personal failures, especially with women. And his greatest weakness, ultimately, is Delilah.
Delilah, yes. After these exploits, he falls in love with a woman named Delilah in the valley of Sorek. And the rulers of the Philistines see their chance.
They go straight to her.
They do. They approach her and offer her an enormous bribe. Each of the 5 rulers will give her 1,100 shekels of silver if she can lure Samson into revealing the secret of his great strength and how they could overpower him.
That's a fortune.
A massive fortune. And Delilah agrees. So begins this manipulative game. 3 times she asks Samson for the secret of his strength, pleading with him.
And 3 times he lies to her.
Yes. First, he says if he's tied with 7 fresh bowstrings that haven't been dried, he'll become weak. She ties him, shouts, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. He snaps the bowstrings easily.
Lie number 1.
Lie number 2. Tie me with new ropes that have never been used. Same result. Snaps them like thread.
Lie number 2.
Lie number 3, getting closer. Weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric on the loom and tighten it with the pin. She does it while he sleeps. He wakes up, pulls up the pin in the loom with his hair.
Still strong, but Delilah keeps pushing.
She nags him relentlessly, day after day, until, as the text says, he was tired to death. Finally, tragically, He tells her everything.
The truth about his Nazirite vow.
Yes. No razor has ever been used on my head, he told her, because I have been a Nazirite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man.
He gives away the secret.
He does. Delilah realizes he's told her the truth this time. She sends word to the Philistine rulers, who come with the silver. While Samson sleeps on her lap, she calls a man to shave off the 7 braids of his hair.
And his strength leaves him.
Instantly. She begins to torment him, then shouts again, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you!" He wakes up and thinks, "I'll go out as before and shake myself free." But then comes that devastating line. But he did not know that the Lord had left him.
Chilling. The source of his strength was gone.
Completely gone. The Philistines seize him, gouge out his eyes, take him down to Gaza, bind him with bronze shackles, and set him to grinding grain in the prison. A tragic, humiliating fall for the mighty warrior, brought about entirely by his own weakness and betrayal.
Blinded and enslaved. It's a powerful image of the consequences of breaking his vow. But this, of course, leads to Samson's dramatic and ultimately tragic final act.
Precisely. While he's in prison, the text subtly notes, his hair began to grow again. A small detail, but perhaps hinting at a potential return of strength, or maybe even a sign of repentance or renewed connection to his vow.
And the Philistines decide to celebrate.
Yes, they hold a great festival to honor their god Dagon, saying, "Our God has delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands." In their revelry, they call for Samson to be brought out from prison to entertain them.
Entertain them? How?
Likely by mocking him, forcing him to display his now lost strength, humiliating him further. They position him between the 2 central pillars that supported the temple roof. The place is packed, with all the Philistine rulers and about 3,000 men and women on the roof watching.
And Samson sees his chance for one last act.
One last act of vengeance. He asks the servant guiding him to let him feel the pillars so he can lean against them. Then Samson prays, perhaps, his only recorded prayer that isn't a complaint or demand for personal relief.
What does he pray?
"Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes."
Revenge for his eyes. Still personal, but directed at the enemy.
Exactly. Then he pushes with all his might against the 2 central pillars, crying out, "Let me die with the Philistines."
And the temple collapses.
The entire temple collapses on the rulers and all the people inside. The text concludes, "Thus he killed many more when he died than while he lived." A spectacular self-destructive end, achieving a significant blow against the Philistine leadership, but at the cost of his own life.
His brothers then come and bury him in his father's tomb. What a complex legacy. Strength and weakness, deliverance and destruction, all wrapped up in one figure.
He perfectly embodies the chaotic energy of the period of the Judges. Powerful potential, tragically flawed execution.
As we move into the final chapters of Judges, chapters 17 through 21, the narrative takes an even darker turn, if that's possible. It shifts from the stories of individual judges to painting the stark picture of societal breakdown. That recurring, chilling phrase really comes to the forefront. In those days, Israel had no king. Everyone did as he saw fit.
Yes, these final chapters serve as a kind of appendix, showing the depths of moral and religious anarchy when centralized righteous authority is absent. We see it vividly first with the story of Micah's idolatry in Judges 17.
Tell us about Micah.
It starts strangely. Micah confesses to his mother he stole 1,100 shekels of silver from her. She had apparently cursed the thief, but when he confesses, she blesses him and says she had actually consecrated the silver to the Lord to make an image and an idol.
Consecrated silver for an idol. That's
Yeah.
contradictory.
Completely contradictory to Israelite law, yes. But she gives some of the silver back to Micah, who has a silversmith make it into a carved image and a cast idol. Micah puts these in his house, makes an ephod again, that cultic object for divination and household gods. He basically sets up his own private shrine.
And needs a priest.
Right. Initially, he installs one of his own sons as his priest. But then, a young Levite from Bethlehem happens to be wandering through the region looking for a place to stay.
A Levite. Someone from the priestly tribe.
Yes, which makes what happens next even worse. Micah meets him and offers him a job. "Live with me and be my father and priest, and I'll give you 10 shekels of silver a year, your clothes, and your food." The Levite agrees. Micah is thrilled, thinking, "Now I know that the Lord will be good to me, since this Levite has become my priest."
So personal idolatry, a homemade shrine, and a hired Levite priest who should know better. It shows a complete breakdown of proper worship.
Total breakdown. And this situation then intersects with the story of the Danite migration in Judges 18.
The tribe of Dan is looking for land.
Yes, they hadn't yet taken possession of their allotted inheritance, partly because, as we saw earlier, the Amorites can find them. So they send 5 spies to find a suitable territory. These spies happen to come to Micah's house in the hill country of Ephraim.
And they meet the Levite priest.
They recognize his accent and ask what he's doing there. He explains his arrangement with Micah. The spies ask him to inquire of God whether their journey will be successful. The Levite conveniently tells them, "Go in peace. Your journey has the Lord's approval."
Convenient.
Very.
Right.
The spies continue north and find the city of Lachish peaceful, unsuspecting people living isolated and undefended with plenty of resources. They return and report this easy target to the tribe.
So the Danites decide to take Lachish.
600 armed Danites set out. On their way, they stop again at Micah's house. The 5 spies tell the others about the idols, the ephod, and the Levite priest inside.
And they decide they want them.
They go into Micah's house and just take the carved image, the ephod, the household gods, and the cast idol. The Levite priest protests initially, asking, "What are you doing?"
How do they convince him?
They basically say, "Be quiet. Come with us and be our father and priest. Isn't it better for you to be priest to a whole tribe and clan in Israel than to just one man's household?"
And the Levite agrees. Again.
The text says his heart was glad. He takes the objects and goes with the Danites. Micah gathers his neighbors and pursues them, but the Danites, being far more numerous and armed, threaten him, basically saying, "Don't argue, or some hot-tempered men might attack you, and you and your family will lose your lives." Micah sees he's outnumbered and turns back.
So the Danites steal idols and a priest and get away with it.
Completely. They go on to Laish, attack the unsuspecting people, put them to the sword, burn the city down, rebuild it, and rename it Jan. And crucially, they set up Micah's stolen carved image there. And the Levite priest, he's identified as Jonathan, son of Gershom, the son of Moses.
Almost.
Wow. Yes. And his descendants served as priests for the tribe of Dan until the time of the captivity of the land. They established an unauthorized idolatrous shrine with a priesthood descended from Moses serving stolen idols. It's a devastating picture of religious corruption spreading.
It really is. This final narrative, though, the one in Judges 19, is perhaps the most shocking of all. It truly demonstrates the terrifying depth of moral decay when society collapses. Tell us about the Levite and his concubine.
It's arguably the low point of the entire book, just horrifying. It starts with a Levite living in the remote hill country of Ephraim who takes a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah. She is unfaithful to him and goes back to her father's house.
So the Levite goes to get her back.
Yes. After 4 months, he goes to Bethlehem to speak kindly to her and bring her back. Her father welcomes him warmly, maybe too warmly. He persuades the Levite to stay day after day, feasting, drinking, prolonged hospitality that delays their departure.
Until they leave late in the day.
Exactly. They finally leave late one afternoon. As dusk approaches, they are near Jebus, which is Jerusalem, but the Levite refuses to stop in a foreign, non-Israelite city. He insists on pressing on to Gibeah, which belongs to the tribe of Benjamin.
An Israelite town should be safer, right?
You would think so. But when they arrive in Gibeah, no one in the city square offers them hospitality for the night. They're just sitting there until an old man, also an Ephraimite living in Gibeah, sees them and takes them into his house.
Finally, some kindness.
Yes, he offers them food and lodging. But while they are relaxing, the wicked men of the city, described as worthless fellows, surround the house, pounding on the door.
What do they want?
They shout to the old man, "Bring out the man who came to your house so we can have sex with him." They demand homosexual gang rape. It's chillingly similar to the story of Lot in Sodom.
And the old man's response is just as shocking.
It is. The old man goes out and pleads with them, "No, my friends, don't be so wicked. Since this man is my guest, don't do this disgraceful thing." But then he offers something horrific. "Look, here is my virgin daughter and his concubine. I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them and do to them whatever you like. But as for this man, don't do such a dreadful thing."
Offering the women to protect the man? Awful.
Just awful. The men refuse his offer. So the Levite guest, in an act of utter cowardice and depravity, takes his own concubine and pushes her out the door to the mob.
And they attack her?
The text says they raped her and abused her throughout the night until morning. At dawn, they let her go. The woman collapses at the door of the house where her master was and lies there until daylight.
Does she die there?
When the Levite gets up in the morning to leave and opens the door, he finds her collapsed there, her hands on the threshold. He tells her, "Get up, let's go." But there is no response. She is dead.
Horrifying. And what the Levite does next is almost unbelievable.
It's truly gruesome and designed to shock. He puts her body on his donkey, takes her home, and then takes a knife, cuts her body into 12 pieces, and sends one piece to each of the 12 tribes of Israel.
Why would he do such a thing?
It was an absolutely horrific but undeniably powerful summons to action, a visceral demand for justice or vengeance for the atrocity committed in Gibeah, a Benjamite town. Everyone who saw a piece was stunned, saying, "Nothing like this has ever happened or been seen from the day the Israelites came up out of Egypt until this day. Think about it. Consider it. Tell us what to do." It shocks the entire nation into awareness.
And this horrific act, this gruesome call to arms, ignites a civil war. Israel against one of its own tribes.
Exactly, an unprecedented conflict. All the other tribes of Israel assemble as one at Mizpah, from Dan to Beersheba, including Gilead.
Right.
400,000 soldiers bearing swords. They demand an account from the Levite.
And he tells them what happened.
He recounts the events in Gibeah, focusing on the planned assault on him and the rape and murder of his concubine, calling it a wicked and disgraceful thing done in Israel. He asks the assembled tribes, "Now, all you Israelites, speak up and give your verdict."
And the verdict is war against Gibeah.
Yes. The tribes demand that the tribe of Benjamin hand over the wicked men of Gibeah so they can be put to death and purge the evil from Israel.
But the Benjamites refuse.
They refuse to listen to their fellow Israelites. Instead, the Benjamites muster their own army from their towns to go out and fight against the other tribes. They gather over 26,000 soldiers, plus the inhabitants of Gibeah, its tribal loyalty overriding justice.
So Israel prepares for war against Benjamin. How do the battles go?
Terribly for Israel at first, surprisingly. They inquire of God at Bethel who should go up first. God says Judah. But in the first day of battle, the Benjamites come out of Gibeah and cut down 22,000 Israelites.
22,000, a huge loss.
Devastating. The Israelites weep before the Lord and inquire again, "Shall we go up again to battle against our brothers, the Benjamites?" The Lord says, "Go up against them." They attack again on the second day.
And
Another defeat. The Benjamites inflict another 18,000 casualties on the Israelites.
unbelievable. Two massive defeats despite inquiring of God. Why?
The text doesn't explicitly say why they lost initially. Perhaps it was overconfidence, poor strategy, or maybe a necessary chastening before ultimate victory. But after the second defeat, all the Israelites go up to Bethel, sit weeping and fasting before the Lord, offer burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, and inquire again, this time with Phinehas, son of Eliar, the grandson of Aaron, ministering before the Ark of the Covenant.
And this time the answer is different.
The Lord answers, "Go, for tomorrow I will give them into your hands."
So the third battle is decisive.
Yes. This time, Israel uses strategy. They set an ambush around Gibeah. The main army advances, pretends to retreat as before, drawing the Benjamite soldiers out of the city in pursuit.
Luring them into a trap.
Exactly. Once the Benjamites are drawn away, the Israelite ambushers rush into Gibeah and put the city to the sword, sending up a large cloud of smoke as a signal. When the main Israelite army sees the smoke, they turn and attack the pursuing Benjamites, who realize disaster has struck.
And the Benjamites are
Caught between the main army and the burning city. The Israelites surround them and pursue them relentlessly, cutting them down. The casualties are immense. About 25,000 Benjamite soldiers are killed that day, described as men of valor. The tribe is decimated.
How many survive?
Only 600 Benjamite men manage to escape into the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, where they stay for 4 months. The Israelites then sweep through the territory of Benjamin, destroying the towns and killing every living thing, men, women, children, and livestock with the sword. Utter destruction.
Almost wiping out an entire tribe. It's horrifying, even as an act of judgment.
It is, and the story doesn't even end there, because now Israel faces this profound self-inflicted problem.
The problem of preserving the tribe of Benjamin.
Exactly. The men of Israel had sworn a solemn oath at Mizpah before the war began. Not one of us will give his daughter in marriage to a Benjamite. Now, facing the near extinction of a tribe, they are filled with remorse.
They regret the oath.
They regret the potential consequence. They gather at Bethel, weep bitterly, and cry out, "Lord God of Israel, why has this happened to Israel? Why should one tribe be missing from Israel today?" They realize their oath prevents Benjamin from rebuilding.
So how do they solve this dilemma? They can't break the oath.
They look for a loophole, essentially. They recall another oath made at Mizpah. Anyone who did not assemble with the rest of Israel would be put to death. They investigate and find that no one from Jabesh Gilead had come to the assembly.
So Jabesh Gilead violated that oath.
Yes. So the assembly sends 12,000 fighting men to Jabesh Gilead with harsh instructions. Go and put to the sword those living in Jabesh Gilead, including the women and children. A brutal command. But do not kill any woman who has never slept with a man.
So they destroy the city but spare the virgins.
Exactly. They find 400 young women in Jabesh Gilead who are virgins, and they bring them back to the camp at Shiloh to give as wives to the surviving Benjamites at the Rock of Rimmon.
400 wives. But there were 600 Benjamite men left.
Still not enough.
Oh.
So the elders of the assembly come up with a second, even more ethically questionable plan.
What is it?
They tell the remaining 200 Benjamite men, "Go and hide in the vineyards near Shiloh. Wait there. When the young women of Shiloh come out to join in the dancing during the annual festival of the Lord, rush out from the vineyards, and each of you seize one of the young women of Shiloh and take her away to be your wife in the land of Benjamin."
Ambush and kidnap women during a religious festival. That's their solution.
That's their solution. And they even provide a pre-scripted excuse for the Benjamites to give to the girls' fathers or brothers if they complain. "Do us a kindness by helping them, because we did not get wives for them during the war. You will not be guilty of breaking your oath, since you did not give your daughters to them."
A disturbing rationalization, twisting the oath.
Completely. It shows the desperate lengths they went to, compromising moral principles to solve a problem created by their own previous actions and oath. The Benjamites do as instructed, seize wives from the dancers, return to their inheritance, rebuild their towns, and settle down.
So the tribe survives, but through violence, massacre, and abduction.
Precisely. It's a deeply unsettling conclusion. And the book ends by repeating that crucial summarizing phrase one last time, driving the point home. In those days, Israel had no king. Everyone did as he saw fit.
What a journey. I mean, through a truly pivotal, incredibly complex, and often deeply disturbing period. From those initial victories we talked about, through all the cycles of oppression and deliverance with the judges, and then finally this disturbing descent into moral chaos and civil war.
It's an unsettling historical account, absolutely, but also profoundly insightful. This deep dive into Judges really leaves us with a lot to think about, doesn't it?
It really does.
It highlights the massive impact of leadership, both effective leadership like Deborah's and disastrous leadership like Abimelech's. And it underscores the huge societal consequences when foundational principles are abandoned or when that central guiding authority is just absent.
Like the no king refrain emphasizes.
Exactly. And it vividly illustrates the power of individual choices. For better or for worse, Samson's personal failings, Jael's decisive action, Jephthah's tragic vow, the Levite's horrific act. And it shows that slippery slope from compromise, like the incomplete conquests, all the way down to utter depravity, like in Gibeah.
So as you, our listener, reflect on all this, here's maybe a provocative thought to leave you with. In our own world today, full of information, conflicting viewpoints, maybe sometimes lacking clear moral or societal anchors, how does that absence, that feeling of no king, influence whether we just do as we see fit? And what are the long-term implications of that kind of freedom, or maybe license?
That's a great question. And perhaps ask yourself, what stands out to you most from these stories? How do the actions of these ancient figures, their strengths, their flaws, their choices, how do they resonate or maybe starkly contrast with the challenges of leadership, morality, and society that we face today?
Lots to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Book of Judges. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep digging for those insights.